Okay. All right. Welcome, Team Club Champion. Today's webinar will cover the stability putter shaft and why you should put our demo in the hands of every customer you fit. I'm Paul Lemieux, National Sales Director. This is Blair Phillip, Director of R&D. Our goal today is to answer your questions and assist you in effectively fitting and selling our product line. Please continue to send in your questions. In the meantime, we do have some questions that were already sent in prior. So why don't we start real quick, Blair, with a quick intro of your background in the golf world.
Okay, I've been told to keep it short but brag. So my background comes from, I have a golfing background. I was a professional golfer for 6 years. I played on the Japanese, Canadian, and Asian tours. I played one event on the PGA Tour, so I got to a decent level of golf. I was not good enough to stay as a professional, however, so I got into golf equipment, hired by Ping to manage their Japanese operation for several years, and then I was hired by Yes Golf, so that's where I got really heavily into putters. And then Yes was bought by Adams Golf. I moved to Texas. Texas was bought by TaylorMade and then broken up. And at that stage, Barney Adams contacted me and we started BGT. He asked me what significant technologies had been left on the table or hadn't been done yet, based on my experience on the Champions Tour mostly, where I had a lot of requests for stiffer shafts. They were using heavier heads. All these guys the old guys with the wiggly hands and wrists were having trouble squaring their club face. They wanted to have something stable with their heavier heads, but there was nothing really available in a decent weight range. So we got to work on doing that. Using Quintic and robotic testing, we identified that steel did have some variances, and so we thought there was room to make a better shaft, so we came up with the stability product, with which I'm sure you're familiar, and that's the way it started. It was Barney Adams was the founder of the company, so we had a lot of connections in the industry, and 2.5, almost 3 years of R&D work by myself initially, and then we got a team into an office here in Richardson near Dallas, Texas, which is where we are now. And so that's the background behind how the company began.
Excellent, excellent. So let's just start with a question that a lot of people ask, okay? Does it really make much of a difference in putting to have a stability shaft?
Well, the answer to that is it does make a difference, and it's on a 25-foot putt with our robotic testing, an average of 0.3 to 0.4 degrees difference, which means you're missing at that range or you're making at that range. It also preserves the smash factor or impact ratio across the face a little longer, so you have less energy loss. The main point of difference between our shaft and steel is because it's built with such rigidity and high modulus, it returns the face to square more often, no matter what style of putter you're using. So that's the main point of difference. The other point of difference is there's less energy loss across the face slightly because the face is delivered square. Those 2 points, you don't need to be, it doesn't need to be 3 degrees in putting for you to miss a putt. It just needs to be 1 degree at 8 feet and you've missed, or half a degree at 17 feet. You can do the math. Our putter shaft is very, very stiff, where a typical shaft flexes. And it's also got 1 degree of radial twist compared to an average of 1.7 for steel. And the Stroke Lab product's about 3.6.
That brings up my next question. We previously received a question: what's the difference between stability and other multi-material shafts? Stroke Lab, LA shaft.
Okay, so ask your questions, everybody. If you have any questions about specific products that are out there, let me know. And we've done some research on just about everything that's out there, except the one that Bryson's using exactly. I don't have one of those. They haven't given me one yet, but I'll get one. The main difference, well, if you look at the competitor's product, the difference between our shaft and say the the main competitor, which would be the Stroke Lab shaft. That's a bimatrix shaft. The concept there is different. Ours is about controlling the forces during the putting stroke. And so no matter what head weight you have, it will improve the face at delivery. Theirs is about a moment of inertia of the overall system, including the head, shaft, and grip and counterbalance weight that they use. So all they did with the Stroke Lab shaft was they used graphite in a bimatrix shaft, which is a fairly old technology, but they used it to free up discretionary mass in the middle of the shaft to redistribute towards the butt and the head. So they claim that the moment of inertia being higher for the system helps people time their stroke better. I don't have any evidence of that. They claim they do. So, but ours is about making every putter better rather than creating a finished product with all the components completed.
Yeah, and that's important because people use all different types, as you know. They don't want to be limited just to Odyssey. And with our shaft, you can use it virtually with any modern putter out there. Okay. So another question: what if the putter diameter is too wide at the recommended cut height?
Okay. So we have an example here of a double band product, and I'll show you the basics here. I'm sure you may be familiar with this, but the question is, what if the recommended cut height is too fat? Well, in most cases, that is over 8 inches. For the tour shaft, we're cutting at 8 inches from the top of the putter here, from where it connects to the top of the club head. 8 inches up the shaft following the bend. Okay, just like the USGA follows the bend in order to discern whether it conforms, whether the bend is, whether the club is conforming to the rules of golf. So if it's fatter in this area, there's a couple different options. One is you can use the original shaft that has a couple different diameters. Let me borrow a couple of pictures. Okay. So you can't see it probably, but there's a 370 and a 390 connector there. So you can go up to 390. In some cases, we have, attached to 410.410 inches in diameter, and we have tips that can accommodate those. It's a very rare case. I'd say 90% of the shafts that you're going to replace are going to be 370, and very rarely do you see you need to use a 390 diameter coupling. So what we do, where is that?
There's a tip.
There it is. So I don't know if you're familiar with this, but we basically sever some tubing, some cable tubing, and we put it has a split. So you can actually put it over the existing shaft and then mark that section and then cut it at that point, as long as the diameter is parallel at that section. So you just prep this, clean it, and then shaft over the existing double band, and you're done. Configuring the logo underneath. Most people don't like to see the logo up top, just like driver shafts. People don't like to see that, as you know.
So a couple more, now that we're talking about tips, I know there's some anxiety that I've received some questions from multiple people on your team about how to select the correct club tip, how to make sure that and how do you deal with single, double bend. All of that is pretty much, it's not as complicated as you might think. If you've done it on a steel shaft, you can do it with our shaft very easily. Don't get intimidated by it. We can send you whatever tip you might need, whether it's 355, 370,
390. So you can see we have 3 different tip sizes. The tip diameters are all different. Some of the 355 tip goes into a lot of Cameron cup products, like a crank neck or a answer style neck. The 370 fits in a lot of contemporary stuff, most of the Odyssey stuff, if it's inside the cup shafting. So we'll just trim these. The other one that we sell is also a 390 diameter. This one has a larger diameter at the end, and this goes over. Well, mostly we just use this once in a while for some Cameron products, like the ones like center shafted, those spuds, or the Cameron 2.1s, the heel shafted blade style that are coming out now.
We have a cheat sheet, guys, that talks about which one's 390s, which 370s, which ones are 355. We'll get you that. It just gives you, a quick idea. The 390s are typically going to be a lot of the pings, the Newports 1.5s. So we have this data to share with you. So just know that. Okay?
Yeah, each putter that we make here or retrofit here, we have people send them in. We make notes as to what the tip sizes are. So far, we haven't been completely stumped. So we'll provide you with a list of all our information, stuff we've accrued over the year, I guess 2.5 years worth of work here. We also do fittings here, so we've got quite a lot of data as to what works. I will tell you, with the tour shaft, you've got a 370 coupler, right? Most of the technology is really in the upper part, in the graphite, and it's woven to resist twisting, and it's also very, very thick walled to resist flexion. The coupler and the tip are all 370 parallel, so everything that you get in terms of tips will fit. Everything we send you will fit into the 370 coupler for the tour product. And for those rare occasions when you might need something slightly larger, the original EIGJ1 or the blue product will fit on top of those. Yeah, with the silver tip.
This was the one that just had the price reduced. So price is the only issue. We don't feel like there is an issue anymore. Tour is obviously the one that's most popular, but the original, again, it's just got that fat characteristic. It doesn't taper. It's still a good option for you to use.
So the difference between these two products in terms of performance is nothing. Okay, so these both work the same in terms of performance. In terms of their construction, this is a one-piece graphite part with actually it's a two-piece part with the coupler, but it's a one piece of graphite, one coupler, and then a tip if you add the tip or you go onto an existing double bend product. The original product has an insert inside the shaft. This one weighs a little bit more. It's about 8 grams heavier, 9 grams heavier, and it also has the insert in there, so the balance point is slightly more towards the tip end, adding about 4 to 5 swing weights to the rebuild, to the build. So that's something to keep in mind. The tour product won't add significantly to the head feel or the head weight, whereas the original stability will add some swing weights, and most people can feel it. They'll comment that it's a little heavier. Some people like that extra weight, but it's something that you should be aware of when you're fitting people.
Okay, Blair, I got a question coming in from Chris. Does increasing or decreasing that trim distance do anything noteworthy? More so decreasing?
Decreasing the trim distance will lower the balance point, thereby increasing the swing weight just marginally. So in terms of performance, very, very little. I don't think it does anything. There's maybe a slight bump in performance. It makes the club feel a little stiffer, but in terms of performance, no measurable performance difference. In terms of feel, it'll feel a little heavier because the balance point drops.
Okay, excellent. So let's talk a little bit about SAM. You did some research into it. That's obviously what you guys use. Why don't you tell us what you learned?
Well, I ran a SAM robot test 2 weeks ago, and I just hooked it up, 2 blade putters, one steel and one with a stability tour. And what I saw was a preservation of the face to path relationship. It was about 11% more consistent in terms of face to path. Ours was 100% accurate in terms of preserving the face to path relationship. So there was no oscillation through the stroke with the robot. And in addition, the average, and I hit 20 putts per shaft, and coming out of the middle of the club. And the steel shaft presented 2.2 degrees closed, 0.25 degrees closed, and ours presented 0.0 degrees open or closed. So it was perfectly square. And that's what we've seen on average with every putt we've hit. If you consolidate all the putts we've hit, over 20,000 putts we've hit over the last 5 years, our club face averages square, and the competition, depending on the putter style, can be either closed or open. Mallets that are double bends tend to be closed, and toe hang blades tend to be open with steel.
Great. And for those watching, if you have, well, I would love to hear what some of the biggest roadblocks or just rebuttals you get when you bring up our shaft. I mean, that's what we want to help you on, how to sell this shaft, because this is all about giving you guys as many tools and ammunition to overcome objections. What we've found is it's really about getting the putter in anyone's hand. The demos are key. That's vital. I can't stress that enough. We have fitters all around the country, all different sizes, and anyone who's successful, they follow that model. If you're not getting it in someone's hand and letting them try to do, essentially we call it the stability challenge. And why don't you tell them what that is real quick?
Well, if you have an opportunity to make up 2 putters at the same length and line spec, and challenge the individual that inquires or that wants to try it to a test. Have them hit 10 putts with our shaft, and then hand them a steel shaft immediately afterwards and have them hit a few putts. And invariably, almost no matter what grade of golfer, I know you deal with a lot of really higher end golfers who will feel it immediately, but they'll comment on how different the feel is and how little the shaft oscillates or wobbles. If you ask them, in 9 out of 10 cases, they'll say, yeah, I prefer the feel of the stability shaft.
Excellent. So I guess the next thing I wanted to bring up real quick is we have a new partnership that's coming out with Stick Putters. It's pretty exciting. I've talked to a few of you about it, but it's great because it's an exclusive partnership that we have just with Club Champion. So very shortly you'll receive some putters with our shaft installed in it already. We're going to give you a traditional blade as well as a mallet, and they're going to be installed to all of the stick fitting systems that are already in each one of your locations. So we believe by giving you an opportunity to get that in your customers' hands with something that's really hot. Stick putters are, as you know, everybody loves them right now. They're obviously with Bryson. And we just want you to know that they believe in our technology. This partnership is awesome because it allows you to get a name brand putter, and it makes their putter better. I mean, we're confident of that. We believe that if you put our shaft in any putter out there, it's going to do the same thing. And that right there is going to help you increase your overall sales without a doubt.
I can tell you from my experience here, I do, several fittings per week here for people in the local Dallas area. I always include the shaft as part of the fitting. Some people don't even know when they come in here that we have the shaft, which is interesting because they just want to get their putter fitted. At the end of every fitting, it's always, well, we're going to put in the stability shaft and improve your ability to square the face. I use a Quintix system here, which when you fit the putter correctly for the individual, invariably shows the club face, the range in terms of the face angle at delivery. So the number of times they deliver open or close, that range shrinks with our shaft. It only takes a little while for people to accommodate to it. I will say this, it is hard. You all know what a fitting environment's like and what it's like dealing with individuals and people in the shop. So the human element can change things in terms of a fitting experience for people. What I can say with 100% certainty is that robot testing shows our shaft delivers the face much more consistently. The onus is still on the fitter to do the rest of it in terms of the lie, loft, and then in terms of balance, I mentioned that the shafts can, or the original shaft can add swing weights. Well, you always have the option to counterbalance. I don't know if you use the counterbalancing there. I know that obviously Superstroke has their 50-gram counterbalance in the butt end. There's also some other options, including Tourlock Pro and OptiVibe. The OptiVibe product works in the Tour product, and the Tourlock Pro works in the original. So you can butt weight these things with either one of those systems, just so you know. I highly recommend, if you're doing very, very finicky, picky work, that you avail yourself of the Tourlock systems to counterbalance when needed.
Great. A question we received earlier is, why does it cost so much? Why does the Stability Tour cost so much?
Because there is a lot of very expensive graphite in there. There's actually more graphite in this than a driver shaft. So that's why. And technology ain't cheap. So that's the reason.
Exactly. Okay, so one of the other questions we had is, with the Sam Putt Lab, would you steer people away for their customer away from that and just, or?
No, I would if Sam Putt Lab is part of your fitting regimen and you rely on it, go for it. However, what I do tell people is, and you probably see an improvement in their consistency in terms of their face angle if you hit enough putts. It takes a long time to do a full comprehensive Sam Putt Lab. But what I think in terms of selling our product, I think it's far better to fit the player to their shaft, and at the end tell them that you have a superior putter shaft and that it's been robot tested, and the testing proves that the face angle at delivery is more consistent, especially on longer putts. On a 2-foot putt, it makes less difference, of course, because the velocities are smaller, but on longer putts, you start getting up over 12 feet. This product really starts making a huge difference. It actually makes a difference on all putts. It's just less easy to measure on the really short ones. And so if you don't have a fitting green that's 20 feet long, then it's hard to show it. Let's see, it doesn't, the data doesn't separate out as much as if you're hitting a short putt. Or sorry, the short putts don't separate the data as much as a long putt. Excuse me. It's been a long day.
All right, we got a question from Jesse. What if someone wants to switch from traditional shaft to our Tour, but they have a double bend club? How easy is it to pop off the old shaft and swap to the new one?
That's actually you're going to probably ruin the old one, but all you have to do is hit you can either use a heat gun and concentrate it on the aluminum connector and gradually work that off. What I actually do is sometimes I'll melt the graphite itself at the connector and pull the graphite off first, and then clamp the connector in a vise or use vice grips and heat the aluminum part separately and take it off. Just twist it off and it'll come off.
Yeah, Chris E said he's had some success flipping the club in the extractor and heating the metal tip.
That works too.
Of the old shaft.
Yeah, extractors are great. If you have one, use an extractor. That works great.
Perfect. Again, we're almost wrapping up. We do appreciate your time, guys. If there's any other questions you want to ask, please, we have a few more minutes. Send them in. If if you're not able to do it right now, you can send them in after hours. After this webinar, I'll be happy to get them to Blair. He'll get to every one of them, and we'll get it back to you. I'm also going to follow up with a call just to make sure that nothing slipped through the cracks, because it's important that you understand that we're here to support you any way we can. And there's a reason why you guys are considered one of the best at what you do, and we're excited at that partnership, and we want to continue to grow that relationship. So just know that you have us as a resource. You will have Blair's personal cell phone.
Yeah, call me on my cell if you're having trouble with anything. I'm happy to talk to you. I do it all the time, and I actually enjoy it.
Exactly. So unless there's anything else here, Just to reiterate, stick putters. We're going to have a couple coming to each one of the locations. It's going to be installed and ready to go. Get them in people's hands. Let them try it. Let them feel it. That's huge. That's the best advice we could give you. We're confident that not only will you increase your dollars per sale and your company's overall revenue, but you're also providing a very real improvement for your customers on the putting green. Okay.
We never have these things come back.
We really don't.
We don't.
And that's, you're going to get the support you need. If you're nervous about making a cut or you don't have the tip, you get a hold of us, and we'll get it done. We'll take care of it. We'll make sure you have what you need, so you can go ahead and take care of your customers' needs.
One other thing we witnessed here, for those people that sent their putter in to us to be done, just researched online and sent a putter in to be done here, just to be reshafted. We've had more, oh gosh, I'd say 25% of the people that put one in one putter have multiple putters, up to one guy's got like 12. So you think in terms of revenue, you might get the sale at the time, but there's a good chance that you'll get several more sales on the back of that one, because people buy so many putters, and people that tinker, and once they're hooked on it, then they want every putter with it. So
yeah, and that's huge. So again, I'm going to send out 2 cheat sheets. One is just a general stability cheat sheet. I think you might have already received it previously. I'll resend it. It gives you enough information just to be dangerous. Most of you are already promoting. If you're not, you absolutely should. Don't leave those sales on the table. Also, I'm going to share this shaft tip selection cheat sheet that will again help you have the confidence to recommend which tip you need, and if you don't, then we'll make sure you get it. Okay. Well, with that, thank you for your time and support. Please feel free to reach out to me direct. Again, I'm Paul, National Sales Director. We have Blair. He's the guy behind the technology, and we're here to support you. So thank you so much for your time.
Thanks, everybody. Appreciate it. Thanks for your help.
All right. Take care.